Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I guess, a presentation on the analysis of the Switch, which we're coming off last night, a big reveal on exactly pricing, launch date, online details. There's some games in there, and we're here to kind of break down everything and discuss our thoughts. With me today, I have Brian Shea.
Hello, everyone.
Matt Bertz.
Hey, it's weird I'm on a Nintendo thing,
This is a rare opportunity. So,
I'm the villain in this podcast.
Oh boy, get ready, commenters. And Suriel Vazquez.
Hello.
So let's start off first. Launch date of March 3rd, $2.99.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about that?
It's way earlier than I thought it was going to be.
I thought it was going to be end of March, actually. So I was like, that's super soon. Price point, I thought maybe $50 cheaper would have moved a little bit, made people a little more confident about pre-orders. But then again, I'm looking online and everybody's like, when is the pre-orders opening? So, but that could just be too. You know, Nintendo is known for having a shortage of supply, and you want to make sure if you want the console that you have a chance.
Oh, 100%. I've pre-ordered it like 2 different places just because I want to make sure that Nintendo doesn't pull the rug out from one of them, and then like I'm left without a Switch for a month and a half.
Yeah, I was happy they got that out of the way in the beginning because I'm like, I don't want to wait the whole presentation to get going on this. But we learned, too, about battery life, 2.5 to 6.5 hours. It's a pretty big gap, depending on what kind of game you're playing.
Yeah, I think we can safely assume the 2 hours is for, like, Skyrim.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
and
on
the 6
that.
hours is for, like, Super Bomberman or something.
They did say that 3 hours was Zelda, so yeah,
okay.
the bigger games are going to be on the lower end of that spectrum.
So that's
sure.
not even that's not even half of a cross-country flight. So
Yeah, that's my worry with that is like, how long is this going to last? I mean, they keep, promoting the system of something you play on the go. You could take out with friends, go outside and play. But, okay, I think it's a good gaming session for like, a few hours with friends. But they opened kind of with more details on that.
Yeah, I mean, compared to the 3DS, like the 3DS will last me an entire flight.
Yeah, the 3DS has great battery life.
Yeah, so I don't know if that is necessarily good enough for the Switch. Like if Nintendo is eventually going to position this to replace the 3DS or eventually become its main handheld, I don't know if that is good enough. Assuming there will be like third-party or aftermarket battery extenders like we see with like a lot of smartphones.
Sure.
And you can even do that with 3DS now, but I think that they would need to do better in order to make this like their main handheld.
That is true. Yeah. That's the question people have going in. Like, will this be a system that replaces the handheld of Nintendo, or will they just stick with a console and go separate as they have been? The 3DS is kind of in limbo right now. I think we've got like maybe another 2 years of it, in my opinion, with not too much coming out for it in those 2 years.
The game library has slowed down significantly. I mean, we have some games coming out this year, but they've as far as first-party titles are concerned, like we're seeing a lot of Wii U ports. Like we saw Super Mario Maker, we're seeing Yoshi's Woolly World, and I think that it would be in Nintendo's best interest to like throw the bulk of their first-party development behind the Switch in order to. So, I mean, because the entire time since the Game Boy debuted, Nintendo has been split with like, all right, well, we have teams developing for handheld, we have teams developing for console. I think it would be very much in their benefit if they're going to try to make this like their main platform and like the 3DS we're seeing slow down. If they've had both of those sides kind of focus on this one platform, like it would be an incredible lineup. Like it would solve most of their problems with having like those gaps in releases that we've seen in other Nintendo platforms recently.
Because I think we can safely assume third parties aren't going to fill that gap. Like looking at what's announced right now, everybody's dipping their toes in the water.
Really are.
Like, like Activision has one game, EA has one game, Ubisoft has 3. Ubisoft usually is a pretty good supporter of a Nintendo platform out the gate. Square Enix brought it; they have 5, 4 or 3 of which are Dragon Quest related.
Hey, don't harp. Dragon Quest is a big deal for me for this. I'm excited for that. But I guess, too, the big thing that we were all wondering going into this event, and we still don't have a solid answer on, but we have some details, is how online infrastructure is going to work.
Some minor details like
some minor details with like it's online's going to be free until fall of 2017, but then you're going to have to opt in to pay for it like a service like, PSN or Xbox Live.
Yeah, but so something that really caught my eye last night on Nintendo's website was they had this thing where it was like, all right, once we start the paid service, you're going to get free games, kind of like you do with PlayStation Network and Xbox Live every month. And then they even said that like, oh well, some of these classic, they're going to be NES and SNES games, and some of these classic games are even going to have added online play. So like I was thinking like, oh, that'd be really cool to have like be able to play Mario World with my brother across the country, and like if he has a Switch, we could just he'd be player 2, I'll be player 1. But then like there was some confirmation coming out of the event today that classic game that you get to download, which sounded like it was like kind of like the Xbox Live Games with Gold, where you download it and then it's yours as long as you're a member during that month. But it's coming out that is now like you lose access to that SNES or NES game after that month is over. So meaning like
so it's like a try and see if you want to buy type of
you have
thing?
to buy it after that month. From the reports that we're seeing on social media from like reputable reporters, like these aren't like random people tweeting. This is like Chris Kohler, who from Wired. So that means that they're giving you like one of their incentives to be a paid subscriber is to give you a trial game of a 20 to 30-year-old video game from a platform 5 generations removed
that they will charge you for,
that they'll eventually charge you for, that you've probably already bought in the past anyway.
You've probably bought it 6 times already because no one.
I can finally know if I like A Link to the Past. I'll finally
that's
know.
What cracks me up too. They said we'll hear more about like virtual console carryover. I know not to get my hopes up. Based
there's
on
no
everything.
way. There's no way.
But gosh, I want it so bad.
I own so many virtual console games on both 3DS and Wii U.
I know. I keep buying the same stuff over and over because I still like. I'm the problem, right? I know.
It's just such a convenience to have all those games like ready to fire up whenever. Like, I'm not going to dust off my SNES to play Mario World, but like, if it's on my Wii U, I'll probably go in and play a few levels every once in a while.
It's particularly frustrating with Nintendo because it's always like every generation they do one thing where you're like, oh, okay, so they finally learned how to do things, and then Nintendo's like, no, check this out. What if we do this? What if we do what everyone wants us to do? Except we're gonna do some weird thing that's gonna piss everybody off.
Yeah, that's for sure. And plus, I mean, with the online, I'm glad they're letting people test it to see how it works before they just opt in to buy. Because as we've seen in the past, Nintendo hasn't always had the strongest online support.
Absolutely.
There's big worries with like how that will be. I'm personally I think it's good to let people try to fall, but
I
there's
definitely.
no pricing confirmation on any of this either yet, so we don't know how much this is going to cost us per month. We don't know how the prices are going to be. Are they going to be comparable to what we do for PSN, for Xbox Live? Yeah, I'm hoping if they're smart, they push it down a little until people can kind of let people get that confidence of all right, let's see what this is about. Be outside of that trial, but as we know,
but again, like they that's what we expect. That's like. That could be what they could do. They could do something completely different, like given $1 a day, like multiplied by 2 every day for the rest of your life. They could do something completely crazy.
Yeah.
Given their track record and the benefits that they outlined, like compared to the other services, I think that it would have to be something like $20 to $30 the most per year. Like if it's higher than that, like. Yeah. I don't know, man. Like I'm a big Nintendo fan. I don't know if I would do that. Like aside from like, all right, I'll subscribe for 1 month so I can play Splatoon and then discontinue my subscription.
Well, let's talk. I know we've seen a little bit about the hardware in general, but what do you think of what you've seen so far of the system with the Joy-Con controllers and being able to swap things out? And I mean, we saw a little bit more of that yesterday. Personally, I think all the controllers look weird to me, and I'm probably going to use the Pro controller mostly.
Yeah.
Taking it out, the little Joy-Con controllers are so tiny,
but
and I'm like,
so expensive, isn't it?
And then
the
big thing, that's the other thing too. They've announced pricing now on a lot of their controllers and peripherals for it. More expensive than I think we were expecting.
Yeah, wasn't it $70 for the Pro controller? Was that? Or
but you got to remember,
60 or 70?
It's like 2 Joy-Cons put together. You're getting a bundle with that controller.
That's if you buy the Joy-Con, though. The Pro controller is one on its own.
Yeah.
That's what I say. I think Nintendo could have done well to put some pricing down a little lower on some of this just because of everything that we've seen in the past with I think Wii U, in my opinion, was overpriced and from the beginning and never had that price drop that it needed. I don't want to see the Switch end up the same way. You still have, let's face it, this Nintendo, you still have that optimism of you grew up with it, you want to see them succeed, and then sometimes it's really frustrating when you're like, I don't know if people will jump on board or not with some of these prices.
There's a lot of questions about the hardware decisions they made too. I mean, 32 gigs of internal memory.
Yeah.
One of the games that was announced last night was NBA 2K18. NBA 2K17, when it came out, it was 47 gigs, and I think it's up around 60 now. So, like, right there, that tells us you're not getting the full game that the PS4 and Xbox One owners are going to get.
Those games are huge,
That's pretty much a guarantee. But, I mean, storage is cheap now. Why are you putting 32 gigs in there?
Yeah.
I wonder if they will have, like, other models that probably come out down the line that have more...
Yeah,
their
weird insistence on SD cards is also kind of weird. Like, like they're popular, but they're like as storage solutions for like long term things you just keep in there. They're not that popular as far as like console stuff.
Like I did see, I forget where I saw this, but I did see that. I think they announced it on the Treehouse stream today, but that you can expand your storage up to 256 gigabytes using micro SD cards. So. That is good that they're giving you that much, because I think it caps out on 3DS at 32 gigs. But, I mean, Nintendo games aren't necessarily that big. Like, I think that I saw that Breath of the Wild is only about 13 gigabytes. So you're not going to need, like, you know, a terabyte like you would with your Xbox One or PS4.
Well, let's say I'm already annoyed this generation by how much I have to shuffle around and delete games to make space for others. Like... I know Nintendo games aren't, as you said, have as much, but I just don't want to have to deal with that with another system.
No. I see myself buying like one of the bigger micro SD cards for this.
Exactly. I think that's the best way to go about it. Well, I guess with any hardware that's exciting, but more exciting is the games that are coming for it. I mean, we had a lot that kind of... So here's my thing with how they revealed the games. At first, I was just like They put out that ARMS game, right, with the boxing, and I was just kind of like, this looks.
It looks like the boxing minigame from Wii Sports.
Exactly, like it didn't even look like a full game to me, and I just was like,
gonna be.
I wasn't too impressed by it.
It could have like a whole like single player campaign or whatever. But like what they showed made it seem like it's just the one arena with a couple characters, and you do like 5 or 6 moves total, and like
my favorite part was during the presentation. They're like, you could defend if you wanted to, but they're not.
But they're not. I feel like we went over this in practice, guys. You're supposed to block, and then he just started giving them he started giving them crap.
What was that game, like Fighter Within, that Ubisoft launched on? I think it was Kinect.
That thing was a disaster.
Yeah, that's what it reminded me of. And like when we were going through those first 2 games, so ARMS and 1-2 Switch, I think
that's
you're about
to
bring
up next. Yes.
Like I thought, like this is just Wii 2. Like what are they doing?
They made this like they wanted to combine all elements from previous Nintendo systems, and so then like, okay, but I'm trying to grasp like what is this system? What am I going to be able to do? And then like obviously they show the stuff that kind of reminds you of the Wii, and I'm just like, motion controls and me just I'm not a fan. But I'm a lazy gamer. I don't like whirling my hands around and sitting.
But you can tell how many ice cubes are in your Joy-Con.
That was confusing me. So that's the other thing. Let's get to 1-2 Switch, which is like the weirdest freaking thing ever to see.
The Wii Play for the Switch.
I think they think this is going to be a big game that people bring to parties and play, and I hate to break it to Nintendo. I don't think that's something that even like little kids are very interested in. I don't know, like they start off with that whole draw with them staring each other in the eyes, and you're like, oh, they're gonna pull out the Joy-Con controller and go after each other. But then they're like, but this is great because you don't need a screen to play the game, and your screen is looking in your opponent's eyes. And
because that's what I was always thinking about video games. Like, man, I wish the screen wasn't here. I wish I could just not, bother with this whole thing.
I feel like there was a meeting where Nintendo was like, 720p is maybe that's not good enough for the handheld screen. And someone said, but what if we make games that don't use the screen?
Everyone applauded. Everyone's like, yeah.
Maybe if we distract each other with looking in each other's eyes, they won't even worry about what the screen looks like.
And then during the presentation, I was watching with my fiance, and I turned to him, and I'm like, wait, what is this with ice cubes? I guess I just don't understand what like this is supposed to be exciting. Because that's the other thing too. They have like that Rumble. What is the
HD Rumble? They call it
HD Rumble. Okay, that's what they're calling it too, which they're trying to sell. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how many games they're gonna make use of.
Yeah, I don't know. That's another thing too. Like they put it on, and then you're like, are games actually gonna use it? Is it actually even gonna matter? Because I have tons of stuff like even in the PS4 controller shakes, I'm still not like, wow, this is great.
It's a launch-only feature, basically. Like after a while.
Well, and then you get the developers who feel like they have to shoehorn something in to use it. And
I do like the Xbox One's haptic rumble feature. Like if you're playing like Forza, for example, like when you're braking, the left trigger will vibrate as you're like slamming on the brakes, or like accelerating, you'll feel like the engine in your right trigger, which is kind of cool. But I don't know how they're going to utilize that for any of the Switch games that we're seeing, aside from maybe 1-2 Switch.
Yeah, so those first 2 game reveals for me were very much duds, in my opinion. And then they kind of got to Splatoon 2, which was a very successful game for them, pretty popular. I think that was the game that people told you if you bought a Wii U, like, oh yeah, you should play Splatoon. I was actually surprised. Every year I have the great opportunity to visit, Japan a few times, and Splatoon is huge there.
Oh, yeah.
The memorabilia and everything, and just how people have attached to that game, like, wow. So yes, they are making Splatoon 2, which I was hoping. The rumor was going in that they're like, oh, they might just port Splatoon over, and I was like, no, please just have it be a new game, and it's coming out this summer.
Yep. And I mean, that was the big rumor.
Yeah.
That was a big rumor going into this reveal in general, was that we're going to get a lot of ports of Wii U games, but with like added features. Like there was the Super Smash Brothers rumor that we were going to get a bunch of new characters and stages, but it's just going to be Super Smash Brothers for Wii U, only for Switch. And then, there was the rumor of a 3DS game, Pokemon Sun and Moon, only as Pokemon Stars.
That was the big thing. I was worried we didn't hear any Pokemon, by the way.
I think we're going to hear something.
You already know one's coming. They said one's coming. So
I was hoping to see some Pokemon.
But
in the
we
big
did
reveal.
we did get one that because we didn't hear about Super Smash Brothers, we didn't hear about Pokemon, and Splatoon was a sequel rather than a port. But we did hear about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yes.
Which is one of those ports that gives you like. I think they're new characters and new courses, but
I
mean,
mean,
they didn't
I just
really
love
go into
Mario
it, right?
Kart personally.
So
Like
do
that's
I.
like the game that I always come back to on that system and play. It's probably like for how a lot of people feel about Smash, I feel about Mario Kart. I'll play it again. As I said this morning, I was like, all right, that's cool. But then after Splatoon, I mean, they jumped into Super Mario Odyssey, which looks freaking awesome. I'm a big fan of Mario 64. Like that was what I got my Nintendo 64 for, and just played so much of it. It was the only game I think I really played. Like 64 ended up being like not a great purchase for me personally. I'm a little mad I sold my Sega and all my games to buy it still have these bitter feelings about it. But I really liked what I saw of it. You had some Mario in some real world locations. You had, him running around the map, and his hat obviously. Now his hat's got eyes on his hat, and he can throw his hat and jump on his hat and go through things. So I thought that looked awesome for a Mario game, in my opinion. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. They're doing some they're getting back to like the zaniness of Mario, which I mean, I guess they really didn't ever get away from with like Super Mario 3D World, but it seems so much more open than
the sandbox focus thing has me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that a lot.
It's very different from what they've done. I think it's a nice step for them to take.
Yeah, definitely, and that's holiday of this year. So that also, like I said, I'd like that to be a launch title, but I'll be okay with it. With holiday is fine with me. And then I'm going to just go at it. They went into what I refer to as the Kim section of the conference, where they just dropped a bunch of RPGs that I was not expecting. I joke around because I went into this reveal not expecting much to be there besides Zelda that I would even, and I'm excited about Zelda, but it's like I already know about it, and I know that that's a game that I'm going to play. And then all of a sudden they go and they drop a bunch of games like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which definitely has a little bit of a different art style. Because when they first showed it, I was like, I'm like, okay, Monolith. I'm on board at Monolith Soft. I know that I'm going to like this. And like, I think this is Xenoblade. But they had character models that looked a little bit older in previous game. Now they're going to this more anime style. And although they say it's 2017 in Japan, I don't think we've gotten confirmation of a North American release, which I'm interested to see how long that's going to take. But they didn't show much of it. If you notice, we didn't see any combat. We just saw that you could ride mounts. There was like this tiger thing going on. But still, that's a big announcement for RPG fans who consider those games like it's that first one in particular, like one of the best RPGs of last generation.
Yeah, I could tell you were very excited about that segment. And
this whole, like I said, all of a sudden I was very quiet during the press conference. Then all of a sudden this run came, and I was like, oh my God, now this, now that. Because then too, you had Square announcing they're working on a game called, worst name. Square is just coming notorious for just like, we're just trying to make these names really, really, really horrible. But Project Octopath, which when I first saw it, I was like, this has like a Bravely Default like art style vibe.
Yeah, that's the one that has like the kind of like the retro aesthetic to it, right? So, but it definitely looks like a classic, like the nostalgic kind of JRPG that we love. Hopefully, better than what happened with I Am Setsuna, which ended up having good. Like I said, I love like Tokyo RPG Factory. Keep trying because
they didn't knock it out of the park, but I think they had, they had a good foundation for their first game there if they can build on it. But
that's coming to Switch too, actually.
Yeah, exactly. That as well. So if you didn't get to play it, you can kind of see what's there. But yeah, this new Square thing I'm interested in. I haven't seen more of that. And then they hit me with my favorite series, SMT, coming. Not showing anything at all. So that is very early, as you can see, because there's just you saw a few characters on the screen. But I am a huge SMT fan. And what's interesting about this is SMT games for now have been on more 3DS. So, you just had 4 launch there. We had the follow-up for 4 Apocalypse also. So I'm wondering, there's rumors that Atlas is also working on an SMT game for 3DS, which I'm like, well, where does this put that? But a new SMT game sounds awesome to me.
And they also followed that up with another one of your favorite series, Fire Emblem.
Okay, yeah, Fire Emblem, Dynasty Warriors, Fire Emblem, fighting game, yes, which I was just like, what is even going on here? Which, when I saw, I was hoping there was going to be some Fire Emblem announcement, during this stream. Am I mad that it's Warriors? No, I'll take it. I think it'll be fun, but dude, I want something.
It's kind of surprising how much they've turned Fire Emblem into this crossover machine, because they have that. They have, they crossed over with Shin Megami Tensei, and then they basically crossed it over with itself for Fates. They really want to do stuff with Fire Emblem, and then I still don't get another Advance Wars. So
no Advance Wars, no Metroid.
I can understand. Well,
still
that's
resentful
the
of
big
the
thing.
Fire
Bertz
Emblem
actually
series,
brings up people where, rumors I had always come up around this time, because I think people have a lot of wishful thinking also in their mind. They want to hear ooh, maybe a new Metroid will be announced.
Yeah,
but that was the one that there were a few people who were reporting that maybe there would be a Metroid, and no, we should know better. We're just not gonna.
Does Miyamoto hate Metroid?
I don't know. I really want.
They said it just doesn't sell.
It doesn't, but
Well, you haven't made a 2D.
Yeah, how do we know?
You did 2D games for all your other major franchises. It seems like you went back to the well of what worked during the SNES era, and they just won't even try it with Metroid.
I know that seems
Instead,
crazy.
we have
to me.
Axiom Verge and all these other games that are really good, but people want
and
the
people
OG.
are responding well to those, so I don't understand what the whole. But I always want to know. I'm like, gosh, if I could just be a fly in the wall on those meetings, or even just be able to. I'd never have the access to do this, but find out what the hell is Nintendo's deal with Metroid, and why do they seem like it's a no-brainer to do it. I feel like. And even if they just tried it to see if it's, they just went back and did Star Fox, and okay, that didn't turn out as well as we wanted to by any means. But if you're gonna try Star Fox, why the heck not try Metroid?
The other one that people were talking about was Mother 3.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I would love that. I'm a bigger.
Apparently, it wasn't.
Fan.
But
there's also rumors about Beyond Good and Evil, which
many
we
rumors
did not
that proved
think
not to be true.
Well, that was to me one that I was like, there's no way that series that needs to leverage, an audience and try to make. There's no way that's going to release on one platform, and that platform is going to be Switch.
How much money would Nintendo have to pay Ubisoft to make that a viable plan for that game?
They got it with Bayonetta.
They'd have to
how
count
well
it in increments of $80 controllers.
And then too, my favorite, I have Suda. I love that guy. He comes out on stage and throws the translator off because he probably went off script. Which, by the way, the translations in that, usually in events like that, they have a script ahead of time, but there's just this monotone, very the whole dissonance from what these people were talking about on stage with it to just what you were hearing back.
It's almost like they handed him a packet of here's all the notes, and then there was a page someone could no, Suda's up next, and it's well, he's gonna say all these things, but he actually he talked about how there's gonna be a new game with Travis Touchdown in it, but he didn't say it was
he didn't say No More Heroes.
He didn't say No More Heroes. So there could be a new game with him in it that doesn't have any of that stuff, which Suda's done before. Some of his characters have crossed over.
He said wrestling.
Yeah, it's going to be very.
Of course.
Because it had a flavor. It had a pro wrestling flavor.
Yeah.
No More Heroes did. But the other thing that I think he said that really interested me was that he'd been talking with indie developers over the course of the year before sort of deciding to make a new game with Travis Touchdown in it, and he said this is really easy to develop for indies, and he was because of that, that's why I wanted to work on Switch, which is interesting for a number of reasons, just because Grasshopper's an independent studio technically, but it's not like an indie developer.
Yeah.
But I think that might be indicative of like what Suda wants to do from here on out, because he hasn't directed a game himself for a while. So maybe like seeing like, oh, it's really easy to make a game on a smaller scale. He was like, I want to do that actually.
Yeah, we'll see. He was surprised me, but he probably had the best like. Oh man, that didn't go how they
gift
wanted.
worthy
Yeah,
so
such a
he
good
came
one.
on like, yeah, and then he goes, oh, that didn't go very well.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. Like just the charm of that. And
He like crossed out and go, yeah, and then the translator's like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem. The disconnect between what was going on was well, and two, there's like some overflow of stuff we heard. Obviously, now we have that Skyrim is finally coming to the Switch.
What?
Which like we all knew.
I'm finally jumping into Skyrim
Finally,
now.
Todd Howard went on there and was like, "Yes, this is coming." We don't know to the extent of like what version we're getting of Skyrim on there. As we discussed this morning, we don't think it's gonna be able to support mods and all that.
We don't even know if it's the special edition, which was the
especially not with that storage space.
Well, that's my other worry about it. But hey, people like to play Skyrim, so if you haven't,
it's a great game. But like, I don't know how you've avoided it to this point, unless you're just.
I don't think people avoid it. I think every so often people are just like, I want to replay.
Unless
it.
you're
People
only a
repurchase
Nintendo
it
fan.
strategy.
Yeah. And then too, FIFA came on stage. Like they said they were going to bring it, which like another thing is how sports games play on the Switch is going to be really interesting compared to can they compete with the other versions, as we've discussed with NBA. You already know you're probably getting not as complete of a version or the full system.
I think I was talking to Kato when we were like right before the reveal, and we were looking at like what EA put out on the Wii U. And if you search like Wii U sports games, Electronic Arts, they have this hub page on Google, like the Google search, and it says like EA provides the most sports games on the Wii U, and you click in to like the list of games, and it's just like Madden and one entry of Madden, and that was it. And it's like, wow,
wrapped it up. We won this sports game war.
That's the real question, I think, moving forward with this system is, are these people going to stick around, or is this a trial balloon for them? You're learning the platform, you're understanding its nuances, and if they don't sell, there's no reason to come back again, right?
That's true. I will say the guy who came on stage I forget his name, I don't know if you know, but to announce that FIFA was coming, saying that he named gave his child the middle name Luigi based on the franchise. I was like, and you pick Luigi?
Yeah. He was my second son. So.
Well, and I think too, I think Suriel will be excited about this. They said Ultra Street Fighter 2.
Yeah, Ultra Street Fighter 2, which is a weird...
The final challengers.
The final challengers. And they're like Evil Ryu and Violent Ken, which is like the only other game he's been in was like the SNK crossover game, SVC Chaos, which is like one of the most obscure crossover games you can think of. But like just having him in there is weird.
Yeah, I really wish that they would have put like characters that were introduced after Street Fighter 2, like give us, I don't know, Armika or something in Street Fighter 2. That would be really cool.
I feel like it's going to be basically HD remix, but like they said like you need new content for this game, and they said we have an idea for a new character. We'll reskin
so
them.
Weird that like Super Turbo is no longer going to be like the ultimate edition of Street Fighter 2.
Who knows? Like this version could be like completely broken, but they said that it's going to have like new multiplayer and single player modes, so maybe they'll have like some sort of like adventure kind of thing.
They showed one new multiplayer mode, which is Buddy Fight. And what that is like you can bring, like if Bertz and I want to just beat the crap out of an AI character, like we can do that at the same time. Like it showed Ken and Ryu just like tag teaming M. Bison.
Yeah, they've had like 2 versus 1 fights in like Street Fighter Alpha 3, but like this feels like they're just gonna cram in a bunch of stuff into Super Turbo, which I'm totally cool with. Like that's Street Fighter 2 is a really good game. So
did the graphics look any different from Super Turbo HD?
Not noticeably, but like I mean, like they said, they're gonna have the ability to switch between like the retro stuff.
I do like that
stuff. One feature I would like them to have is just do that for the backgrounds as well, because you couldn't do that in Super Turbo or in HD remix. So that'd be nice if you could get like the pixelated backgrounds. But yeah, it looks like I would like to have like a portable version of that game, so which they haven't had, and maybe with this like reintroduction, maybe they'll put it on like on PS4 or PC, things like that as well.
Yeah, and they glanced over it really, really quickly in the press conference.
It was
and
like part of a montage. I
Yeah,
think.
it was
that
like
was trying to decipher from that montage.
It was an
there.
off-screen view
Yeah.
of it too. It wasn't even like a quick like, oh, Street Fighter 2 is coming. It was like people were playing on the Joy-Con, and you saw it on like the table.
It's not ideal, but like that's not a terrible of like a portable fighting game having two controllers that just attach to the console. That's like that's as close as you can get is bringing like 2 5-pads or whatever, which I don't think they're gonna make one for this, but.
Yeah, and then obviously after the conference was over, we had, all the information of the games that are being ported are also coming, but we still only have, I think the big thing is at launch, obviously, it was announced that Zelda would be the launch, which we expected, will come March 3rd as well.
It was a good trailer.
That was a really
yes,
good trailer.
that trailer. I mean, people were just like, I was looking online and people were like, the trailer made me cry, and I was like, whoa.
That trailer
I'm
was
excited.
amazing.
I'm excited for it, but that's high praise.
That's easily my favorite Breath of the Wild trailer that I've seen so far. Like they've put out some decent trailers to this point, but that was like one where I was like, all right, this is like the reason people are going to want
I feel
this
like
game. That
Nintendo
trailer.
finally has like discovered the benefits of voice acting because like that was most like narrated and emotional
reasons.
trailer, and it's like it's the one where the people talk the most.
Yep. It's one of the many reasons I'm estranged from Zelda. Like.
But I said to close it off with that really great Zelda trailer, and to think about it too is it's like, wow, March 3rd is not far at all.
Yeah, it's 7
we'll
weeks.
finally be having a new system and Zelda to play.
And that little like thing with Miyamoto and Aonuma, that was like they're like the cutest little guys ever. Like them
They are
like
fun.
coyly teasing like, oh, I don't know when the game's coming out. Do you know Aonuma-san? No, I don't know either. And threw it back to the
check out
stage.
here's the trailer.
And then, but going back to like your talk about it's coming out March 3rd, like March is so crazy now. Like, so we have Horizon Zero Dawn coming out February 28th.
Oh gosh.
4 days later, we have
The Switch.
The Switch with Zelda and any other launch games you're interested in. Then later in that month, we have Mass Effect Andromeda, which, I mean, if you're a gamer who plays across multiple platforms, like you are going to be very busy in March.
I'm going to say, enjoy your free time now. Get in every last game that you want.
Mop up any lingering 2016 games.
Yeah, because, gosh, March, and then it's going to go full force. But, I mean, there's been some talks, too, about, well, people are super excited for Zelda, but it's like, people still are saying, well, they don't really have a lot at launch. What makes you buy the system now, opposed to like, you can play Zelda on the Wii U because it's also coming there. So, I mean, we look at a lot of launch lineups and they're not great.
Yeah, launches are historically pretty scatterbrained.
Yeah, so I don't feel like this is any like bit of a surprise or shock. And I think it is like, if you're playing Zelda, you probably want to play it on the new system.
And I will remind you that the Vita, in my opinion, had a substantially stronger launch lineup than that of the 3DS. And we saw how that went.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said. Like, it seems people are still in that, that seems to be the one complaint. And like, yeah, I would like a few more titles at launch that I was super excited for. But then you look at it and you're like, well,
everyone's going to buy Zelda anyway.
Yeah, you're going to buy Zelda. So what is that?
The first 3 months don't matter that much to me when you're
it's
talking
what
about
the
that
continued
library.
support and everything else.
It sucks if you're like a Nintendo fan, but for some reason hate Zelda. Like, that's gonna be like
that would
you got
be
Mario
pretty
Kart
rough.
Deluxe too.
Yeah.
right?
Splatoon coming
Well, Splatoon's
relatively
summer.
soon.
Yeah, I think Mario
That's-
Kart is launched because it's in one of the GameStop bundles.
Oh, nice. So
Just Dance, I guess you can.
yeah, exactly.
There's one with like the Binding of Isaac in it for some reason.
Yeah, that's one of the bundles too. That is a weird bundle for Nintendo.
So let me ask you all: are you pre-ordering? Did you put your pre-order in?
Yep.
Did they do enough? Are you just so optimistic and that's why you want to?
I mean, like for
pre-order?
me, it's like part of it is I would like to have it for work, but like I think I would have probably pre-ordered one anyway, just because like I want to play Zelda. I don't have a Wii U, so it's the only way I can play it, and like I'm not super excited about launch, but over the course of the year, I think I'll have enough to play throughout the year.
I actually did pre-order it, which is
Whoa!
I didn't buy the Wii. I thought the Wii was a travesty. I won't even look at the Wii
This is such
U.
parallel from Ben Hansen, who says Wii best gaming system of all time.
Well, he has such questionable taste. It's actually surprising. I mean, let's be honest here. But I pre-ordered one mainly because my 3DS got stolen, and I was like, I need another handheld device. The Vita I've been using. I like the Vita a lot. There just isn't a lot for it.
Yeah, I love this Vita. It makes me so sad that never.
And as an estranged Zelda fan, like Link to the Past is one of my favorite games of all time. But as I grew older, Zelda did less and less to keep me interested in it. Like I gravitated more toward open world RPGs like Ultima and the Elder Scrolls games. And I like that they're going toward an open world experience. I think like Final Fantasy, they're probably not going to nail it right away unless you have your Zelda tinted glasses on. But I am curious. I'm going to play this one.
Nice. Oh yeah, I already mentioned that I pre-ordered.
We knew that Shea was gonna.
Yeah.
If they would have had to.
That's a slam dunk.
They could have put nothing up there, and Shea would have pre-ordered it just on his fan.
The thing I wish I could have pre-ordered, which sold out pretty much immediately overnight, was the Master Edition of Breath of the Wild, and that's the one
what's all in that now?
Well, there's like a case that like you can carry the Switch
that
with.
Thing is ugly, man.
But I don't really care about that. I want the Master Sword bust. That
they were showing that on
cool.
the feed today on the Treehouse live stream. It looks like it's kind of flimsy. The sword was kind of bending weird, and they're like, "Yeah, look at this awesome thing." I was like,
"That's all I want. Like, if I can just buy that, I'd be happy." Like, I don't know. If you've ever seen my desk, I have next to no Zelda stuff on it whatsoever. It's it's just all Sonic stuff, as Reiner would have you believe. But no, I have a ton of Zelda stuff on my desk, and I think that would be a nice addition.
Yeah, I think this year ahead will be, I think E3 especially will be interesting to see what gets announced there, what Nintendo has, up its sleeve outside of what we've seen. I mean, I personally, I have mixed emotions on all this, okay? I feel like with the Wii U, I didn't buy it at launch. I waited, and there are some games that I really like on there, but it does just sit there in my apartment more than I would like to admit. And I feel like maybe it wasn't something necessarily that, was a must-buy console for me. Like, I don't think I look back on the console, and even throughout all my history of gaming, I'm like, that Wii U, that was there. That was one that I'm going to go back and talk about. And I mean, as I've grown up, like said, Nintendo consoles have kind of been, hit or miss with me. With what you always get with Nintendo are those few quality games that always kind of make it like, all right, I really wanted to play this, so that was okay. Like I talk about being disappointed kind of with some of the library of the Nintendo 64, but like I can't deny that Mario 64 is one of my favorite games.
And is this, looking back at the Wii U, is this the first like main console of Nintendo's that didn't have like a Zelda game all to itself? Like it had Wind Waker HD, Twilight Princess HD, and then it's getting Breath of the Wild, but that's also a Switch game. Yep. So like, we had Skyward Sword, GameCube had Wind Waker, and before that, obviously Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask on N64, and then even going back further. So I think that might be the first like main console of Nintendo's. I mean, you'd have to look at something like Virtual Boy to find another Nintendo console or handheld that did not have a Zelda title all to itself.
I think it's safe to say Nintendo didn't expect the Wii U to be dead already.
No.
That was not their grand ambitions when that platform launched.
I mean, remember they announced that Zelda was delayed because they wanted to launch it simultaneously on Wii U and Switch, which tells you a lot about their confidence in like their current Wii U player base.
Yeah, no, that they said too. Kind of, I'm sitting here like, I will pre-order because, my fiance wants it and he's pre-ordering, so I'm going to mooch off him. So that makes it a really easy decision for me. But if I wasn't, say, that wasn't the case, I think I would have waited maybe. And it's hard. It's hard because for me to say that because you look at Zelda and you're like, that I want to play that. And I probably would prefer to play it on the Switch,
I think so too.
And I think that's what's driving people kind of like Zelda's coming and that's something to play. And then we'll see how it shakes out. And like I said, there's a lot of questions too still about is this going to be replacing their handheld or not? And I think we've discussed that. Like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Nintendo does with it.
It's premium, premium handheld is kind of the way they're branding this. And I think the 3DS can coexist for a while, but obviously they're going to need to decide at some point whether they're going to replace it with something new or if this is just going to slide into that role.
And I think too, I always like getting kind of an idea of the, Japanese market when I'm over there. The last few years in particular, less and less of the handhelds on, especially, I've never seen a Vita when I'll be over there, I'll be honest. But the 3DSs I would see occasionally.
I haven't seen a Vita in the U.S.
Exactly. And now,
like, what's that strange artifact?
But it's way more with mobile there. So I'm wondering if this is the way to kind of do it, where it's like, hey, if you want to sit down and have a console, you can, and if you're going to be on the go, you can bring it, and maybe too that kind of extends their library and options of games that they can put on it. But a new console is always exciting in itself, just for the possibilities and to see where they're going to go. I think
you got to give them credit, man. Nintendo does some weird ass shit with their new consoles. You know,
exactly.
They are fearless in trying new things, and that's admirable. You know, like even though I don't always agree with what they've done, or sometimes despise what they've done, like they swing the bat in a different way.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll have to see how. Third party has always been a challenge for it. We'll have to see how that shakes out in the coming months. If more, like I said, around E3 time, maybe more developers say, I'm working on this game or not. Or, maybe it's going to be a proving ground for this first year, which I think is going to happen.
I mean, this E3 has to be huge for developers announcing stuff for Switch, or else, the Switch is dead before it even starts.
Exactly. That's why I said I'm more interested in the head about E3 and what we see from there. And, that should give us a better idea. But right now, like I said, it was a cool, like I said, the conference didn't start off great for me personally, but then when they went into the Kim zone, I was okay. So
they need to figure out their distribution as well. Like we saw with the NES Classic, it was just a train wreck this past. Many people
wanted it.
Well,
that's why I feel like so many people are worried about Switch with that, and that's why people are, refreshing on pre-orders and like, well, even if you're on the fence, you're like, I'm going to pre-order this because what if I want it then like 2 months down the line or something, and then you can't find it anywhere.
And the longer you make people wait to buy one when they want it, you have a greater chance of them deciding against buying it.
Oh yeah, I think
they need to make sure that
we saw that. Yeah,
the stock is there, so the people that do want it right away are going to get it.
Yeah, I don't know why with the Classic, like you'd think you'd anticipate like the nostalgia that's going to bring people to want that. It was a good value, and I don't know why they didn't carry more in stores or prepare for that, especially with the holiday season, going on. But we'll have to see, too. I mean, holiday will be big for Nintendo as well, what they do to kind of sell systems around that time. Like I said, it'll be an interesting year ahead. I'm excited to see what's going on. Like I said, the conference surprised me, made me more excited for it than I was before. And I think that's all you can expect from it. Any final thoughts from you guys?
I'm looking forward to it.
Make a Metroid game, please.
Yeah, I think we got almost every big beat out of there.
I just want to know what their virtual console plans are.
Yes, exactly. And I said, I really don't want to rebuy.
You're going to.
They just better they better do what they did with Wii U though, and make it so like it's only like a $2 purchase instead of like having to spend the $10 to bring it forward. I wish
too, or if there was like some discount program if you were changing over.
Well, that's what they did with Wii U.
They did.
Yeah, like I owned Mario 64 on Wii, so when I bought it on Wii U, it was only $2.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted Advance Wars.
Well,
fair enough.
Looks like they're still stuck on Fire Emblem, so we'll see. We'll see, but keep your fingers crossed. Well, let us know in the comments what you think so far on the reveal. I'm sure you all have mixed opinions and are kind of in the same camp that we are, but it'll be an interesting year going forward. Thanks for tuning in.